Hi, Bree. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on, Lisa. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure, my gorgeous. So, just a quick intro on who you are. And we actually met through a colleague of mine, and she raved about you. And I've always been fascinated with astrology. And I then went, you know what? It really resonated with me when I had my own session with you because of the colleague who had recommended you to me. And just wanted to know, Brie, like I see that your title is like to transform you astrology. What's that about? Why that name?
Well, I am a Scorpio, and that is all about transformation. So, a lot of the time when people come for an astrology reading with me, we're not just doing top layer stuff. We're getting right down to the root cause. What's the biggest stuff there that's blocking you from reaching your greatest potential, your greatest fulfillments? Because as a Scorpio, I'm very used to transformation, and so it's good to take people through that process as well, and we can have a look at their own personal birth chart and see what it is that they're destined to learn through, and really work with what tools, what information, what type of things that they can do in a really grounded way daily to transform through some of the challenging sides of that sign or that planet, and break through that transformation and reach all of their greatest fulfillments.
I love how you explain everything. I think the difference for me, because I have had my astrology done before, is that you speak layman's terms and English that I understand. And for whatever reasons, I love the concept of astrology. But when I've been in other sessions, I've gone, I don't know what that means. Like, it's not making sense because I can't relate to it. The fifth house and this. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And how does that, impact me as a human being right here, right now? So I know that that was something that was very important for me when I had my session with you, was that I understood exactly what you were saying because you were translating it into English for me, basically.
Yeah, astrology can seem like a whole other language, and I joke that it's my first language. And I love talking about it in layman's terms because it is about the astrology, but it's about more what that message is for you, how you can work through it. What are you going to do with that energy? Because it gives us clues of how we can flow through and make wonderful changes in our life. So, an astrology reading for me is not about you understanding astrology so much, although we can take you there. But it's like, what do we need to do and work through and know to know who you truly are, to feel the most fulfilled in your life? Because that's why we're doing all this work, isn't it? So we can feel fulfilled, so we can have a happy life, access that joy. And every time we work through another one of these life lessons, these layers, we access a whole new version of ourselves and that joy that life can bring. So it is about astrology, but often it's like there's so much information. I love to ground what can you actually do with this information to make a change in your life.
And you do it so beautifully. And I think that's why I did want to have a chat with you and, share you with people that I know, because um, it's one of the most down to earth, easy to understand, put into practice, understand where I've been, why everything makes sense with what I have experienced in my life. And also, you not knowing anything about me as well, which I love that because, I remember you saying, well, if you're not doing something with health or, you know, helping people, then, you're in the wrong industry. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm doing. That's my calling. That's my passion. That's my desire. That's my, yeah, I assume something like my, not that it is correct, but like my North Node, to, get information out to people for their health and well-being and, empowering them. So exactly what you do with astrology.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually one of the greatest gifts of astrology. It's a blueprint of the energies that you encompass, but it also shows you who you are on a fundamental level. So a little bit of my story is when I started astrology, I've got a Libra rising and I was a massive people pleaser my whole life. And I'd done it for so long that I didn't even know who I was anymore. And I started learning astrology, and in that, each lesson we did a sign or a planet, and every time it's like I accessed a new part of myself. And it's like I knew who I was again. I knew which parts were really me, and I knew which parts were the parts that I'd created to, just be around all the people and be people pleasing and what everybody else wanted. And I think that's something that everyone can relate to, because in this busy life where we've got to be this for work, we've got to be this for our roles of mother and partner and daughter and all the things, sometimes we're a little bit confused about what it is we really want, who we really are, what's going to make us feel most fulfilled. And in an astrology chart, it breaks down every area of your life, and it shows what energy is going to bring you the greatest fulfillment. So it's really wonderful as a tool to know who you are, because when you know who you are, when you're authentic to who you are, everything just flows so much easier. You don't spend time in that career that doesn't make you feel fulfilled. You look for something else that really works with that energy that makes your soul sing. So it can be very eye-opening and shining the light on what's right for you, because everyone's journey is completely different. What makes you feel happy, joy, fulfilled is very different to what makes me feel fulfilled. Some people are introvert, some people are extrovert. We are not all the same, and that's the greatest gift. And it helps you to love yourself for who you are, how you actually function, instead of trying to keep putting yourself in a box of, if I'm successful, I must get up at 5 o'clock and work out. I must do this, I must do that, of all these blueprints we learn about in life. But everyone has their own individual blueprint of what works for them. And sometimes when you can see it there in black and white, it can make you just own it. Go, you know what? That's not how I'm wired. It's okay that this is how I do things. It's okay that this is how my brain works or how I see the world. And when you can start working with who you are, you can take those skills that you have, and instead of using all the energy to make yourself wrong or bad, or I should do it the way the successful person should do it, you can work with ways how you work, and that will have you amplifying more than ever all of the things that you want to create in your world.
Yeah, no, it's so brilliant. And I think it's really important that people know what you offer as well. But first, I want to just get you to answer a question, because I know that I did know my birth date years ago, but the paperwork got lost. So I didn't know how to access it, and I actually went somewhere else to get, is it a ratification? Is it
Yes.
rectification or ratification, something like that?
I'm not sure of the exact word, but I know there are different channels you
Yeah.
can go to find the
So,
exact time.
yeah, so they asked questions, and there was key elements in my life and everything like that. And I remember saying to you, look, I think this is my birth time. I knew obviously my date and location and everything like that. And you said, no, it's spot on. It's right. And then when you started to ask me questions, well, is this like, this is you, and it's like this? And then I was like, oh, that's me. Like, yeah, you've never met me. That is exactly who I am. That is the essence of who I am. And I think, like what you were just saying a bit earlier, was it brings you back to home. It brings you back to yourself. It actually makes, what I find is, me being a naturopath, I've always been different, and like the naturopath or whatever, and it's getting easier, 24 years into being a naturopath, it's not so weird. It's kind of maybe normal these days, or people actually seek out, my requests, or doctors refer to me, their clients, which is kind of exciting. But it's about knowing what you're doing is the right blueprint for you, yeah, and making it okay and really fitting into that skin beautifully and comfortably rather than feeling really uncomfortable with it. And I think you do that brilliantly.
Thank you. And the word that keeps coming to mind as you're talking is it's like a permission slip. You know, sometimes we judge ourselves against others and go, "Oh, I should be like that or I should be like them." And it's like for me, I do a lot of spiritual things. I do Reiki and energy work, but I love astrology because it's so grounded and it's so there in black and white. And when you can see it and go, that is the way that I am, it's like when you give yourself permission to just be who you really are. It sounds so simple, but it is so difficult in the lifestyle that we live in these days that it can make you really own who you are and give yourself that permission slip to just be who you are and how you are.
Yeah, I love that. And you, if people don't know their birth time, then that's not an issue, is it? You can get that sorted
No.
nice and easily, can't you?
That's right. I use a pendulum to find the time. And then,
Yeah.
as we did for you, we ask some different questions. So, there's different periods of time in your life where we have returns. And this is where big life changes will happen in your life. And so, we can actually check into those ages, those times, and see what was coming up for you in that time and make sure that the planets are in the right house. There's not
Mm.
much that will change in a day, and I've done many a charts this way, and they've always come through perfectly. And also, when I'm doing the chart, I'm channeling a lot of the messages that's right for you, where we go with the energy, what we're going to talk about today. So that will always be grounded in the right way as well. So, yeah, time is not an issue. We can work with that, and we trust that whatever's meant to come through on the day always does.
I love that you combine the astrology with the energy and the channeling. So even though, I do this 3D thing, which is naturopathy, and there's pathology, and, the program that I utilize is based on a German doctor, and I love it. I also love the other side as well. I love the esoteric. I love the energy, the Reiki, channeling, all that. And I really honor that you do that because I knew which I didn't know, but when we did our session, I was like, oh, this is just next level. I mean, this is leveling up in the astrology. It really, really is.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I just think you're the perfect combination for people who maybe are curious and just want to understand a little bit more, and to even give it a go. Because if you've never experienced it, and I don't know if anyone else is seeing this, but I'm seeing that astrology is really coming into its own even more so again. I know it's done it before, and many, years ago, it was a mainstay for many people, and many affluent people, many, kings and queens and politicians, and I assume they also still use it these days. They just don't talk about it to make very big decisions. So I love that there are so many levels that you can work with people. So can you explain what levels they are and what you offer?
Yes. So we can look at your natal chart, which is where all the planet signs and constellations were when you were born. And that goes into a pie chart. And we can read each area of that, which will give you details on that area of your life, what you're destined to learn through. That is the blueprint we've been talking about today. But what we can also do is put another chart around it, which is all the transits in the sky at the moment. So when a transit in the sky hits right on your chart, that's when something in your life sparks up. And this is where we can read the energy and go, oh, this transit is asking you to put up boundaries. This transit is giving you an opportunity to level up in your business. We can read the energy, flow with it so that you can really work with it in its greatest potential. Just today, we've got this amazing transit that allows transformation. So I think it's no coincidence that we're here today talking about transformation and astrology. And there's so many things in my life where I look at it and I just laugh at the chart and I go, of course, we are doing that today. There it is. So we can talk about your chart and getting to know yourself better. We can talk about transits that are going on, so things that are sparking up in your life right now. Or I also offer an online astrology course. And this is where you really break down your natal chart. And it is so empowering because I talk about each sign or planet. We break it down really simplistic. We talk about archetypes, the energy, how this could play out in your life. And then you write the story of how it plays out in your life. So I think something that's really wonderful is when people can, be helped to find their own answers. The answer's there, but you get your own aha moment and it just lands so much deeper for you. So the course is so layered because you'll be learning everything you need to know about astrology. It is the most personalized self-development course you can do because it's your blueprint of life. And the other beautiful thing is you get lifetime access. So you could do it now, but you do it in 6 months' time, you're going to get a whole new lesson from those videos because you're at a different time in your life. And what I love about these videos is so much of it, the wisdom is channeled through me. And to be honest, I do my own course. I had a baby about 8 months ago, and I was at that time where I just needed to pick myself up, find myself again, and I started listening to my own course, and it was exactly what I actually needed to hear on that day.
Wow.
So there's lots of different ways that you can work with the energy. Sometimes we need the right message at the right time. And sometimes it might be, we've got a Taurus new moon tomorrow. You might go into your course and listen to Taurus and see what's available for you there, because the course is just so layered. I'm still learning about my astrology chart because I learn through one layer of growth and then it goes deeper and then it goes deeper. And it's just, yeah, a beautiful gift that keeps on giving with the astrology.
And Bree, look, I know for a fact from my experience of 24 years as a qualified naturopath that I am forever learning still. And I'm sure that's what I was, it's one of my favorite things to do, which is, I'm a forever learner. I love learning. I love exploring. I love up leveling all my skills for myself, but my clients as well. So I so hear what you're saying with that. We're forever, that the learners, aren't we? We're always a
Yeah.
student. Yeah.
Yeah, and it shows how passionate you are about naturopath
Yeah.
and all of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff too, because yeah, it's just wonderful that there's always something new to learn.
Yeah. So also another thing that I'm always curious about, like, is, having two charts done, whether it be a business partner or your child or your husband or your partner, because obviously that is quite significant as well, potentially. Is that something you do as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can put your chart in the middle and then say put your husband's chart around the outside, and we'll see if anything lines up. So, say you've got your sun in Taurus at 10 degrees, and say his Venus is in Taurus at 11 degrees. This would be a story, a mirror that you would be learning because all relationships are mirrors. So you would be shining the light on him and helping him to learn through his self love, valuing himself, loving himself, could even shine the light on ways that he could make some extra financial abundance in life. And vice versa, it would be a mirror in that way, that through him loving you and giving all this beautiful Venus energy to you would help you shine even brighter in life. So this is a nice aspect, but say you've got an aspect with a Chiron, it could be that you've got to watch your communication when it comes to um, that that area of your life, because it may be that those words, they just really feel quite deep, quite hurtful, and then you can understand why, and understand with the energies of that planet and that sign of how you can step through that in an empowering way that you can evolve together. And that Chiron is a beautiful energy of healing as well. So through
Mm.
working with the energies could bring in a big transformation and healing within the relationship. It could be why your souls chose to meet, because there was this mirror of deep healing to work with together.
Wow, that's beautiful. And then also, I know that from what I recall, that you do offer like a mentorship or sessions where, like for whatever reasons you require that we delve back in and out of, doing sessions with you basically, or astrology with you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can show up to the chart, see what's available to us, ask a question, or just see what comes through on the day and help you find your next step up. Because as we know, there's steps and there's steps and there's steps. So you might first come and your mindset, yourself is only available to get really grounded. And we might talk about, what you're needing in that time. And it might be more grounded steps about more of a schedule or speaking up for yourself. And then the more that you work through that, then it may be, here's your next step to your success. Here's your next step. Here's your next step. Or you might come in when you have those questions, when life is becoming a bit haywire, that hard conversation has come up with hubby. What is this for me? What is this showing up for me? What can I do to flow through this and work with the energy to grow and evolve, to reach those greatest fulfillments, rather than spending all this time in resistance? Because I think often we do spend so much time just resisting what's coming up for us, rather than going, okay, why is this here? I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason. What are we destined to learn through here? What are we destined to grow through? And I also believe that when we are willing to do our work, when we're willing to evolve through that challenge that's coming up, it's not that life is here to just challenge us and it's meant to be hard. It's trying to push us to reach our greatest potential. I find every time that I have this life challenge or I see something that people are working through, it's not for life to be hard, it's for them to reach their greatest potential. So the best way I can describe this is through a personal story. I have 5 planets in Capricorn down in my third house of communication. So that means communication has always been really difficult for me, especially when I was younger. I had a lot of intense people in my life that I needed to learn to speak up to. This was very difficult. It took layers, it took time, it took this step, this step, this step. And through working through that, that's why I can reach one of my greatest fulfillments, to be here with you today. Now I can speak about things that help me. I help clients to heal through my voice. Those challenges weren't put in my life just because life's meant to be hard. It was there to help me reach my greatest potential, to be the voice of astrology, to be the voice of spirit, and to help people with my purpose and my passion. And everybody has that. That's in everybody's chart. It's just often we want to know, what's it going to reach us to? And sometimes we don't always know 10 steps ahead, but we do know what's coming up for us now, what we're destined to evolve through. And if we keep taking one step at a time through those processes, then it's amazing what doors can open up. I feel like now I'm living a life that I only once dreamed of many years ago. So I feel like I'm living proof of the beautiful fruits that can bring labor when you do your evolutionary work.
That is so true, Bree, because I always believe that you've got to take the step forward, one step, and then the next step lights up. So, it gets shown the next step. But it's not, like you said, there might be a destination, but let us not decide what the destination or the location is, because it actually might not be where you need to be. It's just taking, like you said, the faith of going to that one step to the next step to the next step, and then allow it to evolve. And it often will be even better than we ever anticipated or expected, because it wasn't even in our awareness that that could even be possible. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you break through all those old beliefs and, we've already decided on some level, oh, we could only reach this much, we could only reach this much. Whereas when you're willing to break through those old beliefs and those, old wounds of the past, just a whole other world can become available to you.
And for me, I believe we're here. One of the reasons we're here is to, literally experience life, and to heal whatever it was is unresolved or however. And like you said, the difficulties in life, not that we want them, it's how we deal with them and level up into it and become empowered from it rather than become victimized into it. So that it's not life hurting us. It's there for us to, like you said, evolve, to become the better version of ourselves, or the version we are meant to be, or whatever that is. That doesn't mean you need to have, businesses or anything like that. It's about it's an inner job, isn't it? It's 100% an inner job
Absolutely.
that we're doing.
Absolutely. And I think that there's this idea that if I just get this, I'll be happy. If I just get this, I'll be happy. Or maybe we see people on socials and we think, wow, they must be happy all the time. And a gift that astrology showed me is that no one's life is perfect all the time. No one's happy 24/7. We all have roller coasters of life that we go through. And what I find when you do your evolutionary work, it's not like you fall into the ditch, it's a little bump and you keep going. And a placement in astrology that teaches this in a really big way is the Chiron return. So, this is when the Chiron in your chart meets the transit in Chiron. It takes around 50 years to get back to that exact spot. And that will bring up, it's called the wounded healer. So it will bring up a really big wound in your life and a wonderful opportunity for healing. So it can be between, say, 48, 52. It's a slow moving planet. So that's why we need to see what your transit is. But, we've all heard of the midlife crisis. This is actually the Chiron return, when what you're destined to learn and heal through comes to the surface. This can often be a time where people leave marriages, change careers, change town, change home. There is a big life change for people around this time. And if it's not the big physical changes, it can be internal changes. For women, it can be menopause. And, they're really getting in touch with their emotions again, and that's coming to the surface, getting to those places of, no, I will not take this behavior anymore. I will speak up for myself. And it is a challenging time. And I've helped a lot of people through their Chiron return, and it's been very healing to have the wisdom to know how to step through it, because it is a timely type transit. But through the other side of that, it's like this beautiful check in of life that says, okay, you're about halfway through. Let's do a recon, see how things are, see if there's anything that needs to be changed so you can really enjoy this second chapter of life. Because, after 50, usually your kids have grown up, they've left home, it's time for you now. What do you enjoy? Who do you want to be around? What makes you happy? You're more at a time where you've stepped a bit more out of the rat race, and it's time to slow down and go, what do you need for your greatest healing? Who are you really? What would you like to bring in for this next chapter? So, yeah, I really feel like that needs to be talked about a little bit more, that there is no one that has a happy life 100% of the time. We're all here having our own internal challenges, whatever that is, but astrology can help us make a little bit more sense about it, rather than making ourselves wrong for feeling that way, or why is this coming up. Let's take some steps to work, grow, and evolve through it so you can reach your healing even quicker, so you can reach those joys and fulfillments that you're really here to experience in life. It doesn't always have to be the hard, but if we don't work through them, you do end up staying in there longer than you need to be.
One of my coaches used to call it the valley of death. So it depends on how long you're going to sit in the valley of death. And I love that, because we can sit there for a while, because there's the ebbs and flows and whatever. And I know for a fact that astrology can really highlight what is happening and why it's happening. And then, like you said, when you understand it, you don't go into victimhood as much, because then you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So, what can I do to move forward more efficiently, effectively? It's not that you don't feel the emotions, but you're not sitting in it for as long. Yeah. It's more of an
Absolutely.
understanding and then empowering, and then, oh, so this is where this could lead to. How exciting, how exciting. So, Bree, thank you so much for today. But I want everyone to know where they can find you, and if they want to contact you to either have a quick chat or to book in for a session, because you are very, very reasonable and very generous. And also, yeah, your website.
Yes, so you can find me at Transform You Astrology on Facebook, and from there is a link into my website as well.
Beautiful. And then obviously that online self-paced course is in there as well, is it?
Absolutely.
I
Yes,
love
but I'm
that.
open to jump on a phone call or, discuss how it might benefit you and see if it's the right fit. Once we have a conversation, you'll know if it's a right fit for you or if it's not. And we can go from there.
And I think if you've never had an astrology done or your astrology done, Brie, you're the one to do it first, or do it to so people understand. Because I promise you, when I had my first one done, I was like, I don't. I walked away not knowing anything. Like it was just like, I don't know what that means. Whereas when I had my astrology done with you, I went, I know what that means. And it was very, very much grounded and very intuitive as well. And there were steps for me to take, which were very, very concrete, and it was very empowering. So I really honor that you are authentic to who you are, and it really resonates in your work. So thank you so much, Bray.
Thank you. I feel I should also mention that if people do sign up to the online course, they get a free astrology reading as well. So we can do a reading and then, have a top surface look of everything. And then you go and do that deeper dive into everything. And the other thing I want to mention is that it's about astrology, but it's not. It's about you. I use astrology as the tool. So it may be that you don't have that yearning of like, oh my God, astrology, but you do have that yearning to grow and evolve and know yourself deeper. Astrology is the tool to get you there. So, I don't get too technical. I'm very grounded. As I said, I talk about energies, archetypes, and how that could play out in your life, because the end goal is to help you to grow and evolve. And in that, you will just naturally learn astrology and you'll get wonderful printouts with all of the logical information and grounded stuff there. But at the end of the day, it's about just helping you on your journey.
I love that, Brie. Thank you so much, my darling, and I look forward to chatting with you soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Lisa.